Morning, Scott.
Hello, hello. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Just letting everyone in the room here quickly. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll. How's everyone's week been? Good, bad, indifferent?
Manic.
Manic. You glad it's Friday?
Pardon?
I said, are you glad it's Friday?
No, because I don't get a weekend. I'm busier at the weekends than I am during the week
Fair
because
enough.
I don't have my helper at the weekends. So
The
we literally no is the answer there.
life of a farmer.
Yeah, it really is. It's yeah, I haven't had a holiday for about 8 years.
Sure,
Pretty desperate. I
sure.
want to come to South Africa to the Wealth Weekend.
Well, to be honest, if you saw the weather yesterday and today, you would be very jealous.
Oh,
It was 32 degrees yesterday with no wind. I actually made a video on the boat just to Deedland can get excited, but the rest of you can just be jealous.
But it
must
looks
be.
like rain next week, Thursday, hey?
Yeah, unfortunately, the weather this week's been spectacular, and next week looks like it's going to be a bit interesting. So, anyway, well, at least it's warm at this time of the year. It doesn't really matter anyway. So, what I want to do today, as usual, if there's any questions, Alan says it's boiling in Cape Town. Yeah, I know the weather's been proper at the moment. It really has been amazing. What I want to do today is I want to kind of evolve on from what we discussed at the mastermind. I actually just made a video about it this morning because I think and I want to sort of get into breakaway groups just to discuss this. But I always talk about the framework of the paid framework. So you've got to have the right partners, you've got to have access to the right deals, you've got to have the right information, and you've got to have diversification. So those four components are critically important if they're the four elements to passive income. And if you get passive income, then that equals freedom. So what I wanted to do today was that there's a lot of noise out there. You know, I was on the boat yesterday and I had a whole bunch of friends over, and everyone is suddenly an expert in finance. You know, they now want to trade oil futures. In fact, at the gym this week, someone was talking about how can they invest in tokenized oil futures. I was like, dude, you're an architect. You know, so what I want to do is I wanted to just kind of get into breakaway rooms. I think it's always useful to get people communicating. I want to start with the topic of how do you get the right information? So I'm going to break you into groups of twos and threes. And I just want you to debate, in your opinion, where do you find the right information? How do you get the right information? And then we're going to come back in the room. So I'll give us, say, 2 minutes each. So, like, I'll give us 6 minutes basically just to have that conversation. And then, you know, we can debate it and discuss it, and then we'll come back in the room. And I'll share some of my own ideas, etc. But I do think it's really important before I kind of give you my thoughts. So I'm going to do the breakaway room. If you wouldn't mind going into the breakaway room, I think there's. So I'll do four breakaway rooms, and then that should be. So anyway, I'm going to put everyone in the breakaway room. It is currently 12:05, so we'll be coming back at 11 minutes past. So you should all have your little button up now that you can just move to, and then I'll try and move people around if they don't join. How's it, guys? So for those of you that have just joined, I did put people into a breakaway room, and the idea was to discuss where do you get the right information. So in these chaotic times where the press loves to fearmonger and everything between, the question was, where do you get the right information? So I'd be fascinated to know what your thoughts are on whether you want to join the conversation. I can't put you in a breakaway room now because they'll be coming back soon anyway. But yeah, I don't know if anyone just wants to chat here and let me know what your thoughts are. Where do you think you can get the right information? Hello, Ingrid. How are you doing? Hello, Richard. Richard, we're seeing you next week.
Yeah, I managed to do what you did for that Kiyosaki thing, Scott.
What is that lastminute.com?
I started selling old shoelaces and like a rat trap here and there and whatever I could. I eventually made a plan. I mean, my intention was always to get there. But yeah, I've got timing issues. There's something that needed to happen first. It hasn't happened, and I had to make a workaround. So I'll definitely see you there.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, the weather, I just hope the weather holds. It's been so spectacular.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway.
Should I bring my slalom ski?
Yeah, you can. I got
No,
lots.
I'm pulling.
I've got lots of skis. You don't necessarily need to bring your own one, but we were actually
I'm gonna 1 foot.
We were slaloming last night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I actually just posted a video. It was amazing. It was like you don't get better. It was like 32 degrees, no wind, flat. Like we're actually just posting the video as we speak. So yeah, listen, the question I had for everyone that in the break, they're all in the breakaway room. I need to actually start getting people back. But anyway, the question was, where do we find the right information? So maybe if you just want to ponder that while I get everyone else back in the room. Because with all this fear mongering at the moment, where do people find the right information? That's the question. So I'm just going to get everyone back.
Hey, Alan.
Okay, then I went and got hold and picked up Scott, and obviously and I joined Scott so that I can have somebody local here. And obviously I followed Scott. He's bloody good. He's got so much material. The problem is we don't get round to do it all, and that's another fault. So you've got to make time to do it, to go through his stuff, to learn. He's one of the most brilliant people to train, but we don't utilize them correctly. We're the problem. So you're a problem in investing all your life. So I think I've summed it up. So luckily I've got on track. I've been to UCT, I've been to Darren Winters, I've been to Sean Allison, I'm with Scott Callio, we had one other people, and obviously I've started to learn, question, and be able to get my money to grow, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's a disaster out there.
Yeah, it is, Alan.
I agree. 100% agree.
So welcome, everyone.
So I don't know if I've helped you. That's what I do.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks, Alan.
Okay.
I'd love to. I mean, just by the way, do I give you guys enough time in these breakout rooms? I never know if it's enough time. Was it enough time or not?
Well, not to
No,
tell
not for me
somebody
and
whether you
Alan.
were a monkey about investing. No. But anyway, it's still good to ask. What did you think? Could I get something through to you to help you?
Yes, you did,
Maybe.
Alan. You did.
Okay, so do what I tell you to do.
I will. I'll phone you up.
All right.
Sherman, you got your
I
hand
told
up.
you we're with the best, Scott. You're lucky.
Thanks, Alan. I always appreciate you for giving a shout out. It builds my ego on a Friday. Sherman, you had something to
All
say?
right. So what we were discussing is where do we get the right information from? And we all know there's so much out there on social media, and really good people as well through whom we've learned a lot. Like if you look at we've listened to Kiyosaki, Mike Malone, all the other people. But at the end of the day, if their company is to do with a particular area of economy, that's what they're going to talk about more and promote more. So we don't get a full all-round information, but we can get good grounding. Then we have other promoters who only have one thing in mind, which is to grow themselves and their business. So, we can get lots of wrong information there. So we felt really it's through paid education. And what we get from you, Scott, is deep foundational education. So we understand for ourselves. And we hear different things from different places, different educators. Then it's up to us to make a decision on what we resonate with, what feels right for us. The decision of our investment, how we use information comes down to us.
Yep. No, well said. I think what you said there, I just want to reiterate what you said. I remember years ago, people would stand on stage and they'd say, London property is the best place to invest. And I always found it fascinating because I'd known them for 20 years. And there's no ways that a market is the best place to invest for 20 years. Like markets go up and down. And I think, Shimon, if I understand what you're saying, often people will share information in the essence of teaching, but actually they've got an ulterior objective to sell something. Like, does that make sense? So it's like, the world's crashing, buy gold, and then they end up, they're a gold salesman or something. You know what I mean? And I just like for me, one of the things that I appreciate most about Calio is that they're not pointing you in any one direction. Like if you take, we've got 150 mastermind members, I guarantee you that all 150 of them have different advice because it's personalized. Do you know what I mean? So some people it's buy property, some people it's sell property, some people you're too old to buy property. Some people you're too young to not buy property. Whatever, you get my point. Like it's like, you know what I mean. So it's I think it's a very valid point that you've said there. The other thing that you said, which is interesting. So I just want to grab this book. So most of you are aware that I'm making a real deep dive into this book and to be honest, the follow-up book, which is Who Not How. And I heard something when I was writing yesterday that I found really profound. I've never heard it before. But when you invest in yourself, some people see it as a cost. And so when they have a cost, they want to kind of get an ROI, return on investment, in terms of, however, if you see it as an investment in yourself, then it's what can you get that is transformational through this process. And I find that really interesting. I'm actually going to go and ChatGPT that and create a whole like topic around that. Because what my takeaway from it was most of us are looking at it and going, okay, well, this cost me $100. Can I afford $100? And I look at it, and a good example for me was this Necker Island thing. So, I mean, to put in perspective, does anyone want to guess how much it cost me to go to Necker Island for a week?
60,000 pounds.
A fortune.
I thought of $50,000, but yeah, £60,000. Let's go with that.
Wasn't quite that much. It was $40,000. But then you still shared a room, just for the record. So if you went with your husband or your wife, then it would have been 70,000. But funny enough, for those of you who know Simon Zuski, him and I, we already knew each other, but like I turned up, I'd spend the most money I'd ever spent to stay anywhere for a week in my life. And I would have expected to have my own room, only to find that I was bunking with someone, and then to find out I knew the guy, which was just bizarre. But the point of my story was, if you look at it and go $40,000, like how the hell am I going to get a return on investment with regards to that? It's, the mindset would actually, you would find it very difficult to be able to do it. Whereas the transformational experience that I got from that investment has been profound for me, literally profound. Like, hanging around those people. I mean, it wasn't just Richard Branson. I mean, there was one guy that had a call center. I don't know if I've told you the story, but he sold his business for $800 million. And basically he had a call center. Okay. And so just sitting and talking to him and having beers with him, because it's not all work, it's a lot of social and fun, but you're talking all the time. It just inspired me to play at a whole different level. Like, and particularly probably the most important thing that I learned was that my mom had indoctrinated me that you can't have everything. So you can be successful, but you will be divorced. You can make money, but you can't be a good dad. Like in my mom's world, it's very binary. It was like you can buy a helicopter, but then all the children in Africa are going to starve. And unfortunately, you laugh, Melissa. Literally, I said to my mom when I was young, I want to own a helicopter. And she was like, oh, do you know how many starving children there are in Africa? So at some level, I think I created a mental block, almost like a barrier to kind of making money, because I didn't want to, make all the children in Africa starve, as an example. And it was in 2015 when I went that I got to experience like watching someone who literally had everything, in my opinion, like happy husband, happy wife, 2 great kids, lives on an island, 400 companies, $8 billion companies, done all the crazy shit that I would love to do in the world, like had a massive purposeful impact, has a shitload of fun, like at 65 was behaving like a 40-year-old. I was like, what more is there in life? Like literally, like he's got it all. And so for me, that experience was like, okay, you can have it all, if that makes sense. So back to what you said, Shimon, like for me, that's the investment part. And then that book went on to say, if you see it like that, then the investment can have a transformational impact on you. So if it's just a cost, it's transactional. I pay this and I get that. But if you see it as an investment, it can be transformational. And that for me was very interesting, a very interesting sort of mindset. And sort of, Richard, what you were saying about coming to the Wealth Weekend, like I'm a very big believer in putting yourself in the room where you're the dumbest, poorest person. That's I've always tried to do that, because my logic is I can only kind of go up, which sort of brings us full circle on what we're talking about with the right information. So I don't know, Shimon, I know you got your hand up. I don't know if it's from last time.
Yeah, I'd like to add to what you said, because one of the things we also discussed is sometimes our good information comes from good teachers. And with what you just said about the investment for your mind, I remember years ago when I first started my first MLM, I didn't know nothing about it, but I'd gone to a paid training. And the teacher there, he said one thing that stayed with me forever. It kind of goes with what you said. He said, the average American spends hundreds of dollars for the outside of their head. They will buy all the colognes, face creams, everything else. But when you ask them to spend $100 for the inside of their head, they think it's too expensive. Think how much that costs you.
Yeah.
Because you're selling an expensive course, and I was with my sister, and they were saying, "Oh, it's a scam," and I'm kind of lining up to pay for the course because I wanted to learn, and that saying has stayed with me forever. And this is something I'd heard in the 90s.
Really interesting. I mean, you've just given me my topic for next week's video, because that's exactly that's exactly it. I mean, there's some stat that 96% of adults over the age of 18 don't read another book, which is fascinating. That's why doctors and lawyers and accountants and everything have to do that. I think it's called CPD or something. Like every year they've got to basically be forced to study because they're not studying. Now, I know for all of us, I'm preaching to the converted. Let's see if anyone else has any thoughts on where to get the right information. Any other ideas from the groups that you guys spoke about?
Can I share something with you, Scott?
Yes, Alan, please.
Right. As you know, I have a property in London for the last 7 years. And it's on Kew Gardens, Kew Bridge, beautiful, river flowing in front of it, You couldn't have wished for anything better. Well run, despite the fact that you get robbed on rates and taxes and all the rest of it. 7 years ago, it cost me, I'm not going to, a bucket of money. A bucket. No one has in my investing time called for and said, Alan, you have a property in London, let's have a look at it. You put me onto a guy because of what happened to you in London. And obviously, you know, I was there 2 weeks ago. Well, to my horror, I'm going to lose 200,000 rand or 200,000 pounds on that property. 200,000 pounds. Okay. I put it on the market. I thought I knew, property will sell in the market. I had to take it off. Shocked me why I had to take it off. Property doesn't sell in winter. So one or two BS people do buy whatever, but the market drops down substantially. So you can't put it on. So, hello?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, what's my screen gone dead? Can I talk?
Yeah, we got you, Alan. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay, so obviously I've had to take it off the market. It's going to go back onto the market in the end of May. What I'm trying to say to you is that you go to investor advisors, you try and look for help, because I've just shared with the lady about my experience that you really know nothing. And you go to people and investment advisors and all the rest of it. No one's ever taken my property and said, get out of it. Would you think that you're going to lose 200,000 rand on investment in London on a property at Kew Bridge, Kew Gardens, and the reasons why and whatever? So, and everybody says, oh, buy property. You can't go wrong buying property. Well, I did learn from you, I think it was, you never make money out of owning a home, ever. Or like I've got in Kew, you make money if they put up a building in New York and you take a share in that and then they on-sell it. So again, it's the education that's totally lacking in investments. It's not properly taught, and it's just another confirmation of obviously what I've believed and what I've experienced is that if you don't get the right people to teach you and pull your investment apart and realize you know nothing, you will never, ever succeed. And if that sums it up for you.
No, I think so. Look, I mean, Alan, unfortunately, I learned that the hard way as well. You know, when I started the business, International Property Solutions, I helped 2,500 people buy houses or apartments from developers. And it was in South Africa, it was in England, and it was in Australia. When we did America, we did single family homes. And the only place that we made money, can anyone choose where we made money based on what I just told you?
America.
Yeah, it was America because it was single family homes. It was secondhand property. The problem with developers is that all the profit has been taken by the developer. So in my experience, there's three problems. Well, there's many problems with developments, but let me give you the main three. The first one is that all the profit's taken. So does anyone know how developers price their properties?
No.
Anyone want to give it a guess?
And here we invest in, you've got 17 people and no one can answer you. So my issue is correct.
Yeah. So the way I know how developers do it, by the way, I've been a developer. So they go to the bank and they say, what is the most money that you would lend someone to buy this property? And let's say they say 900,000 pounds, to use your thing, Alan. They go, cool, we'll sell for 900,000 pounds. It's got nothing to do with the build up, the value, how much it costs to make it, nothing. It's what can they sell it for. Okay, so that's why generally a developer is trying to make 25% or more. So all the profit is taken. And again, I'm not being esoterical here. Like I've done this 2,500 times. I've owned 16 properties myself, and I never made money out of properties that I bought.
But why didn't you tell me to get out of property, brother?
Well, I did. You already owned that property by the time I've been trying to help you sell it.
Tell me, get out of it.
So look, so that's the first problem, is that the profit margin has been taken and generally you've got to wait 10 years or more to make money. The second problem is generally investors buy new developments. So suddenly you've got a lot of competition in a concentrated area with regards to rentals. So if you just got a house randomly out in the middle of nowhere, like a tenant comes along, but now suddenly there's 200 units that all come online at a very similar time. And so you're told when you're buying the property 2 years ago, I'm just making it up, but 2 years ago, that you're going to get £1,000 a month. But suddenly when 200 units come into the market, to get your property rented, you have to rent it out at £800 a month. Anyone else experienced that? Where the management agent told you you'd get 1,000, but when actually when the rubber hit the road, you ended up getting quite a lot less than what you kind of agreed. So that's the second major problem. And by the way, rental guarantees are a load of bullshit as well, because they change nothing. Because all the developer does is take the rental amount that they would lose and put it onto the price. So you're basically just paying for your own rental guarantee, and you're delaying the problem by 2 years. Because after 2 years, everyone's in the same boat again. Are you with me so far? And then the third problem with regards to properties is that generally you've got a lot of investors, and so investors tend to buy and sell based on numbers, whereas the real way to make money in residential property is when someone falls in love with your property. So it's an emotional purchase, not a numbers financial purchase. And again, so someone asked me, I think it was last week, they asked me about Dubai. And I'll never forget when I first met Dr. Dolph DeRoos, the guy that wrote Real Estate Riches, which was part of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. And someone asked him, I'm talking in the mid 2000s now, someone said to him, what about Dubai? And he said, the problem with Dubai is you've got all these investors coming in and they're basically cleaning their money, and you can't compete with them. Like, you're just a normal Jill and Joe soap buying a house, and you're dealing with people that are buying whole blocks to clean. And I think it's the same point. You're not dealing with mom and pops that are wanting to buy a home. You're dealing with investors that are trying to make a return, and therefore values don't go up because it's generally based on the rental return. Does that make sense? Are you with me? So let me remind you of the three things I said. The first one is that generally all the profit margins taken off the table already. The second is that when it comes to rentals, suddenly you've got a whole bunch of units all coming in the market all at the same time, which means rentals tend to go down. And the third is that you're not dealing with people that go, oh, this is wonderful, and they fall in love with it emotionally. You're generally dealing with people who are buying it financially, and then it's just based on the rent. And refer back to problem 2, when the rent's down, the price comes down.
But you know what it's also taught me, Scott? You can't have somebody locally advising you on an investment that you have in London, say in property. If you go around, which was done for me, go around the whole of London, do you know how many new properties are being built? I say, well, look at all these properties. Well, you must be able to get a decent price for one. Well, they say, Alan, let me give you a wake-up call. Those properties are being bought for 400,000 K. Not 800,000, 400,000 Ks. So the market changes. People in your own country don't know about what's really going on in the investment market on, like, say, property. You have stuff overseas because they don't live there. They're not involved with it on a day-to-day basis. You go to a estate agent, biggest reports that you'll ever think, never tell you the truth. The fees that come through. So you learn again through investing, but you take a knock. So I've learned you can't invest in another country in, say, property if you don't get somebody there first to go and sit down with and say, right, I want to buy a property, what's the rate? You can't be advised from here or get told there's a good property there, go and buy it. You'll lose.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, that's the difference between having someone on the ground like Rudy that knows the good areas, the supply and the demand. You know what I mean? Like I mean, ironically, in my book, the one that I wrote with the Clem Sunter one, I said the same thing. Most people that bought property, I'd be surprised if you didn't do the same thing, Alan. Like, it was either through a financial advisor, or even worse still, it was in a hotel. So the developer would fly out, they'd do a big presentation in a hotel, and people would buy. I mean, they would sell 200 properties in a weekend in Hong Kong and Dubai and South Africa and whatever. And then you wonder why you battle to make money when there's 199 other people just like you. So this is actually really interesting, because this is all perfectly in line with how do you get the right information. And what Joseph just said there literally took the words out of my mouth. For me, it's partners. What I've learned is you cannot make money, unless you're actually partnered with someone who's in the deal and is on the ground and has their own money in the deal. That's been my experience, because anyone can tell you a good game, but then ask them to put their own money in the deal, and then suddenly they're not that keen. So if people are putting their own money in the deal, that's the game changer. In terms of that process. So yeah, I think that's it's really important in terms of getting the right information, the right partners. Anyone else want to share in terms of information where you thought? Anyone from the mastermind want to share their experience from Wednesday when Anthony came and sort of gave an update on what's happening in the markets? Don't all shout at once. Shona, what was what were you there on Wednesday? I'm sorry, I don't remember everyone. So what was your take on when Anthony can, again, just so that everyone knows, once a month we get together and family office comes in, Anthony comes in and he gives us about a half an hour update on what do we need to know in the markets, what's going on with the different asset classes, et cetera, et cetera. And this one obviously specifically focused on Iran and this conflict and what it means. What was your kind of take on that, basically?
Just ride it. It's always just ride it. You don't panic. You don't change your strategy. You just sit tight because if there's a dip in the market because of the war breaking out in Iran, things soon recover, and in a lot of cases, go up higher than they were. And also that emerging markets are still doing quite nicely.
Yeah, yeah. So I there were a number of takeaways that I had, which the first one comes back to this: how do you get the right information? So I've learned, like, I don't even worry going on Twitter or X or YouTube or TikTok or anything. Like, I literally I reach out straight to Anthony because he said something really interesting when I asked him the question. And by the way, I've made a video with a clip which I've shared with on the group, so you should be able to watch it, where he literally said, they get access, so they pay a lot of money to be part of these research houses. So, what you and I, we don't have access to it, but they pay. I mean, because they manage $1 billion, they can afford to pay to go to these research houses. Now, the research houses aren't out there to sell news or to sell newspapers or to create headlines or to get likes or views or anything in between. They're there just to give, ideally, the best, factual information they can. And so that's what I really appreciate with Anthony is, we've had multiple times over the last 3 years where there's been a big event. We had the whole BRICS thing, and I loved it when the headline came out that the yuan, the Chinese currency, had doubled its market share worldwide, and that the US dollar was going to collapse and all that sort of stuff. And then Anthony turned up to show us that the US dollar constitutes like 58 or 59% of world trade. And the yuan had gone from 1% to 2%. So yes, it had doubled, but it had gone from 1% to 2%. And there's the difference. Like the yuan has doubled. Yes, okay, it has. It's gone from 1% to 2%. But in terms of whether the dollar is going to lose the reserve currency anytime soon, well, that's a whole separate conversation. So that the first thing for me was that research house. The second thing, which is interesting, and Mariam, this might be of benefit to you, was that he said, look, the playbook hasn't changed. Like, diversification is absolutely critical. You need to diversify between America and Europe. You need to diversify into emerging markets, like Shona said. And that actually, funny enough, is what we're going to be covering at the Wealth Weekend. So next week at the Wealth Weekend is where we go deep into diversification. So we'll be running panels where, and again, it's not a presentation, it's a panel. So it's like, right, what are the key things? What are the right assets to diversify, and how do you protect your portfolio, et cetera, et cetera. So that for me was the second thing, is that the playbook hadn't changed, which if I understand what you're saying, Shona, was my takeaway, same as yours, that you don't need to panic, nothing needs to change, in terms of, what you do or don't do based on the crisis. And the third thing that I found really interesting that I didn't know was that whenever oil has gone over $100 a barrel, so back to the 1930s, so literally for the last 100 years, whenever oil has gone over $100 a barrel, the stock market has either crashed or dramatically gone down. So it's created a correction. And so, as Clem Sunter would say, a big flag is watching the oil price and whether it goes over $100 or not. And I didn't know that. I found that really interesting. So, and 20% of world oil is distributed through that strait, and I forget what it's called, the Strait of Hormuz or something. Hormuz. I don't know how to pronounce it, but and Lloyd's of London, Hormuz, yeah. So the Lloyd's of London won't allow the ships they won't insure them to go through there. So you got all these ships kind of stuck around. So 20% of world oil distribution is kind of a problem. which is why the oil price is going up. So that's quite an important flag to watch is the oil price. And obviously, oil going up has a dramatic impact on fuel, which drives inflation, and inflation then makes governments put up interest rates. So it creates a negative environment for global economies. Any other takeaways that you got from Wednesday that I might be missing? I think the key thing which I find really interesting is whenever I talk to them being Garth, Anthony, the team there, they don't seem to panic ever. Like, tariffs happened and the market went down 20% and, Garth went fishing as the example. Trump invades Iran and Garth's in the Maldives fishing. It's like there's a bit of a pattern. Whenever he goes fishing, the world seems to, be going through a crisis. But I think it's sort of back to what you're saying, Shona. There's not a like a knee-jerk reaction. It's kind of a steady eddy process. And that again is the value of getting the right information, having the right partners, because you're not then bouncing around and knee-jerking and buy this and sell that and buy gold and sell gold and buy crypto and sell crypto, etc. So yeah, I find that fascinating in terms of that process. And I must admit, I'm really looking forward to next week to explore further around what the assets are that one should be looking at, because what does it mean basically? Because I mean, unfortunately, interest rates were on the way down worldwide, which is good for the stock market and it's good for property. But now, if oil prices go up and inflation goes up, then that could stall that, or not could, it will stall it in the foreseeable future. So, what I suggest we do is I want to kind of do another breakaway room because I'm doing all the talking here, and we're going to break into 5 different rooms, and I want to kind of review what we've discussed, everything from buying properties from developers and whether you do or don't make money. How do you find the right information? What is the value of investing in yourself and getting, basically, getting access to the right partnerships? So for me, because this is a very much a learning environment where I want to kind of anchor some of these core concepts. So I'll put us in the room for 10 minutes and then we can come back at the end and we can kind of regroup. And if anyone's got any questions, then let me know. But let's break in the room. So I'll give us 10 minutes in the rooms basically. What's going on now? I'm gonna create new rooms. So let me just so that you can try meet some new people, and then boom, there we are. Okay, you should all have your rooms open.
Not me, Scott.
Oh, not at all. It's not working.
Oh wait, hang on. I forgot to press the button. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm like looking there and I
nice
can't understand
one.
why no one's not going in the room. Okay, cool. Yeah, there it should come up now. We're back.
Hey, we're back. Well, I'm back.
Welcome, welcome. So, any key takeaways? Anything anyone wants to share? Any questions anyone has?
Very interesting listening to Thomas's story.
So go first, Shana, then we'll go.
Oh, sorry, I didn't put my hand up. I just was very, very interesting listening to Thomas's story.
Guys, I'm just going to mute everyone. If you can just unmute yourself, Shana, because someone's got a horrible echo. Okay, you'll just have to unmute yourself again.
Yeah, I'm there. I just wanted to say it was very interesting listening to Thomas's story. I do like to listen to other people's journeys and what they've been through. Thank you for speaking, Thomas.
Cool. Awesome. Richard.
So one of the things that I came across recently is a comment around what Warren Buffett's doing. And it seemed that he bought into Japanese brokerage firms, commodity brokers, and that's really where the transactions go for China. So he bought in, he sold out. The commentary was that he probably did it to get inside information about what China's doing. And his current positioning is he had moved mostly into cash, and now he's mostly getting into commodity businesses because you'll get a multiple on the commodity businesses. So the summary of that is have a look and see when movers and shakers who have access to information, like the family office into research, Buffett into whatever it might be, if they make a sudden move, they know there's something coming, or they're positioning for something to happen. And you should pay attention to that.
Yeah, I think that's, well, as Tony
That's
Robbins
a stake
says,
in the game. They're putting the money into it.
Tony Robbins says, if you want to be successful, copy successful people. Well, if you want to be wealthy, copy wealthy people. So no, I think that's better. How do you find out about what Warren Buffett is? I haven't heard that before.
It was actually it was a YouTube thing I came across, but it was an AI thing. So you're always like, okay, well, it's an AI thing. Check it out. But I then AI YouTube video. I then went on AI and I actually asked, which one was it? It was Claude. I asked Claude about Buffett's recent investments and moves, and it basically validated that.
Okay.
So he's now putting effort into commodities, but he's not going directly into buying gold and buying gold indices. He's going into gold miners or various commodity miners,
Cool.
because you're going to get a multiple on the return. So you'll obviously get the rising tide floating the boats, and then of course the better ones you're getting the multiple on the valuations.
That makes sense.
Sorry, Scott. Richard,
Positioning for a reset.
Yeah.
Commodities rather than stock markets,
Yeah.
So I see I've got you thinking.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard that. I have to go look it up. Chiva, you were saying something?
Yeah, no, Richard, I was just going to add on what Warren Buffett believes that, if you're not a competent investor, he just leaves it to ETFs. He says it's the S&P and the Vanguard, and that's what he advocates to most people, because he says it took him years to learn the market. And he says for anybody that comes out, the easiest is just ETFs. Put your money there and just let it grow. It's low risk, but it does grow. Richard? So yeah, you've got a different perspective, and I think that's quite interesting. I'll try and look up that interview.
Okay. So listen, I know we're coming up to time here. I wanted to share something with you that I'm quite excited about, that we're going to be launching next week. So I've been teasing you with it for 3 or 4 months. But next week, we're launching our AI, Wealth Accelerator AI. And the concept is how to 10x your life, your business, and your wealth. There's going to be 3 modules. So the first module will be your life. So it'll be setting up your clone and getting it all sorted, because then you've got all your prompts, your clone, like basically using AI properly for your life. Some people will be interested in what we're doing on the relationship side as well, but basically everything with regards to life. Then the next module will be business, like how do you actually 10x your business using AI? And then the third module will be wealth, how to 10x your wealth using AI. So there's going to be 3 modules. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to sharing it next week. Anyone tentatively say they'd be interested? So I'm looking to
Yeah,
get
I'm there.
I'm looking to get 100 people to come on a journey with me. I've been playing around with the course structure, and everyone's recommending I do it over 6 weeks, but it's too quick to do it over 6 weeks, because it takes time to set stuff up and go through it and understand how it works. So I'm thinking of doing it over 90 days. So it would be, each module would be a month. So four weeks per module, because that gives you time to get it set up. And you know, like I learned when I did the Tony Robbins one, you actually have to keep it fairly simple per week. If you do too much per week, people will get lost, if that makes sense, you know. So that's my logic. Miriam, it's going to start at the end of April. So I'm going to sort of spend 6 weeks promoting it, and then we'll launch it. I think it's the 20, if I remember the date off the top of my head, it's the 28th of April. For those of you in South Africa, the 27th of April is Freedom Day. So that'll be our whole last push will be, if you want freedom in your life, then use AI to 10x it. Don't know. You're the first people in the world. Even my own team doesn't know about that. And I'll just share with you a little thing, because we're using AI extensively now, like really, really extensively. So Alex has hired 2 new people, and check what he's built here. So like we built an entire online learning environment so that the 2 new people start on Monday. And like, you know, Alan, you've always said like you don't know where to go or like how to find stuff. People will now be able to go in and literally like, so at the moment we're doing it just internally, so that they can learn anything about the business, any products, they can get access to any of the manuals, anything, all in like literally a learning environment. And then once that's proven and it's working, we'll then make it public that you and me as the customers can go in and have everything at your fingertips. Pretty cool, eh? So, you know, what used to, like, just take it from a business perspective. So what used to happen is you used to hire someone, and then Alex would have to sit with them and train them, monkey see, monkey do, for months. Okay. I mean, Alex has been part of the team for 8 years, and now he's done it all. We've uploaded everything. He's uploaded every video that I've ever done. He's uploaded all the Calio stuff. He's uploaded all the mastermind, like it's all there. And so people basically, you know, yeah, I mean, I just find it phenomenal. So anyway, I'm super excited about it. I shouldn't even be telling you about it, but we're literally going to launch it next Friday. So if you're interested and you're at the virtual wealth weekend, or obviously Richard, as an example, you're going to be at the physical wealth weekend. Melissa, I think you're going to be at the physical one as well. Yeah, it's so next week we'll be doing 3 topics. It'll be diversification, and it'll be how to 10x your life. And then on the Friday, I'm going to be doing AI. And because for me, if we don't use AI right now, it's like you're riding along in your Volkswagen and a car goes past and you're like, no, I don't want to use a car. I'm quite happy in my Volkswagen. It doesn't make any sense. You know, like it's phenomenal, the impact that it's having in my personal life and in our business. And my business coach has just been saying to me forever, like, you need to share this with other people. Like you can't just keep doing it all, keep it all for yourself. So that's it. We're calling it the Wealth Accelerator.ai. So we don't have a new product to confuse people. It'll be the Wealth Accelerator, which was our 90-day program. And but the whole idea is it'll be using AI, and it'll be specifically how do you 10x your life, your business, and your wealth. So does that sound good? Anyone like the sound of that? If you've got any ideas, because obviously these Friday sessions are always useful for me. If you've got any ideas, you know, let me know. If you know, I'd love feedback, constructive, particularly for those who come to the Wealth Weekend. Give it some thought. You know, I want to figure out what would give you the most value. So that's, you know, if you could even just send me a message. We're all on the Wealth Hacker group on WhatsApp. You know, put it on there. I would really appreciate feedback as to what would give you the most value. Because if I can help provide value for you, then I can do it for others. Does that make sense? So, okay. Awesome. And with that, I'm off to watch my son play his first rugby game. He's playing fly half, and his cousin is playing hooker. So the two Pickens are on the same team, which hasn't happened since 1998 when the two Picken brothers played for UCT. So very excited. I'm literally packing up now and I'm going to hit the road and go spend the weekend with him. And yeah, it's going to be quite a special event for us this weekend. So, and to those of you who we're going to see next weekend, I'm really looking forward to it. The Wealth Weekend is the thing I enjoy most. And for those of you who are brave enough to join me for the personal development part of it, what David and I, or David specifically, has put together, it's one of those things. If you trust me, then I would strongly recommend that you take an extra 2 days and stay with us and come. At the moment, there's 7 of us that are doing it. So we can't have more than 10, so there's not that many spaces left. I don't need more, so just to be clear, if no one else comes, it doesn't matter. But I just don't want people to miss out. Like it is a life transformational experience. And again, I don't use words like that lightly. I have traveled the world. I've done every flippin' personal development thing, including, and I'm sure you won't believe it, but I did a month's meditation in India, as an example. Okay, like I had to sit in silence for an entire week. Like I've done everything from bloody Tony Robbins firewalking to a month's meditation in India. And one of the things that's had the most profound impact is going to David's retreat, which is it's called Never Ending Story. And I welcome everyone to participate in that. And if you can't make it this time, come in October, whatever. But anyway, okay. I think that's. I just want to see if there's anything I haven't answered. Not slim pickings. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, use the Wealth Hacker group, guys. It's a WhatsApp group. It shouldn't just be me. It should be community. Use the school group, participate, and do remember that if you come to the virtual Wealth Weekend, that the Wealth Hackers have a 35% discount. So, and the mastermind members have a 50% discount. So we always want to add value back to you guys. So, and make life easier for you. Okay. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you soon. Nirvana, good luck with your medical stuff. And I think that's everything I've got. I think we got it. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Cheers. Bye then.